Hello, hello, hello. This is Danny Ceballos with the Best Boss Bootcamp podcast. Welcome, dear listeners. So glad to have you join us. Super excited today to be interviewing a longtime friend, colleague, and brilliant thought partner in taking over the world in all the best ways possible. This is my buddy, Taryn Laakso. Welcome, Taryn.
Oh, thank you, Danny. So happy to be here with you today.
Awesome. We're going to have such a great conversation. And dear listener, you are going to get so much from what we're going to be talking about. We both, Taryn and I, both do some pretty deep work in something called positive intelligence. So I've asked Taryn to come on here, tell us a little bit about her work, and also understanding what you can do to best leverage and understand and work with this thing called positive intelligence. So before we get to that, let me tell you a little bit about Taryn. So before taking the bold action to leave her soul-sucking corporate career in 2020, which, by the way, I totally get, Taryn strategically prepared to pivot her profession. A lot of alliteration in your bio, which I really like. Strategically prepared to pivot her profession by building a resilient mindset when faced with challenges and setbacks. Taryn Laakso is passionate about igniting the spark in her audience so they play a bigger game in their leadership. Love that. She speaks on topics such as positive mindset, mental well-being, and leadership. She is the contributing author of the book How to Thrive in a Post-COVID World, and Taryn is now a successful business owner of a six-figure coaching business. Welcome again, Taryn. Is there anything else that you want to tell us about who you are and the light that you bring to this world?
Well, first of all, I just want to presence. Can I just have you introduce me all the time, Danny? This sounds great. Really appreciating that. Okay, so back to your question. I'm excited to be here. I think it's really important what we're up to in the world, where we're playing a bigger game and really helping leaders, managers up level their impact in the world, allowing and have confidence while they're doing it. So not kind of in this murky self-doubt pool of insecurity. So
So
why
we
can't
are we are so aligned around that. A tagline of the work that I do with my clients is to have them to be both their best and most effective selves. And that is being authentic. It's about being competent and confident, right? Which I think is what I
Mhm.
encourage people to say. It's about having the skills, the insights, and the knowledge, but it's just important to work on that inner game of confidence. That's a big part of leadership as well. So right on. Awesome.
Yeah.
So Taryn, maybe first, thank you for that. I think it's also, we cut this out of your bio, but I want folks to know that you are a certified. Tell us a little bit about your academic and your training background.
Sure. Yeah. My background. I have a couple letters after my name, so I'm always on the quest of further learning. I just think my own journey is there to support other on their journeys, and when I go through it, then I'm more in service. So I'm
Yes.
trained with the Coactive Training Institute, so CTI, and so I have my CPCC through them, and I have through the ICF. I'm a PCC, so I have over 500 hours coaching clients and getting in there, really helping them through their own transformation, and then through positive intelligence. And there's probably a few more, but it's all wrapped up in me being here to support my clients.
Yes. 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 The most important letters are TARYN, as far as I'm concerned. So right on. I'm glad you're here. And Yes. So great. Okay. So let's go to it. So the very first thing is I want to ask you if you can help our leaders understand what is mental fitness? What does that mean to us?
Well, let's go back to this word resiliency. So, mental fitness for me means being able to bounce back when a setback or a challenge is presenting itself. And we have those on a daily basis. We start off the morning, we're feeling pretty good, and then somebody throws us an email that takes us offline, and how do we recover from that quickly? Are we internalizing this message? Are we letting our inner critic thoughts tell us, like, oh no, I haven't done this right, or I failed my team, or like all of these self doubt thoughts can potentially take us offline. Or you can raise your resiliency and go, well, what might really be happening here? So bringing in some curiosity and maybe empathy, like, oh, I wonder what that person could be going through, or empathy for self. I think that's a big one for a lot of high achieving individuals. We are so hard on ourselves. Don't you think, Danny? Like,
100%,
yeah.
100%. Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
in resiliency, it's recognizing, oh, this is just a challenge and I can get through it with a few key tools
Mm-hmm.
and a mindfulness practice of like taking some deep breaths and then moving forward
Love
versus
that.
reacting.
Love that. Yeah, I would go so far as to say that this is resiliency is it's a critical competency of leadership. It's not a nice to have anymore, right? It's not up in the clouds. That's what the guru coaches do, or like way up here. It is a practical, tangible competency that we want our leaders to be working on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I mean, especially now, without the world is in its turmoil, right, in so many different ways.
Well, and resiliency can have a couple meanings. I grew up around this Finnish mindset. So Laakso is a Finnish last name.
Hi.
So in our whole family, Northern European, it's you just push through. You at all costs, you push down your emotions, you push it down and push through. So the resiliency I'm talking about is really it's surfing the waves of
Mm,
life rather
mm,
than letting it overcome you or take you, wiping you out from like just if it's a tsunami, wiping the sand off the beach, right? So resiliency is really it's about the bouncing back, not
yeah,
pushing down or
yes,
pushing away. That's not what I'm talking about. So I just
right.
want to make sure that's really clear for your audience. It's
That's great. Yeah, I
how do we
appreciate that.
navigate this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that flavor of the competency. It's that part.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we want to work on, right? Yeah. I mean, I get very excited because I love this work as well. And can you tell us a little bit more about why did you say surfing? Surfing? What do you mean surfing?
Surfing. Well, okay, so imagine the ocean, right? So life is full of rolling waves. You can allow yourself to surf it and have fun and
Mm,
be more playful with it and go, okay, there's a big wave coming and surf it rather than letting it crash over you and potentially drown you and take you out. So
uh,
you're choosing with practice on how to navigate the rolling waves that are always coming to us.
I love that. If I could build on that a little bit, I like the idea also with surfing that one who surfs, you lean into the waves, but you don't let them overtake you. You lean
Mm-hmm.
into them, you reckon, and you go with them, but you don't, and you ride them. You go with them, so you're still being a leader, but you're not allowing circumstances to overwhelm you.
Yeah, can we play with this metaphor a bit more? Because it's
Come on
bringing
in,
up.
the water's good.
Yeah, yeah, right. It's warm. So we were recently in Hawaii, and I'm not a surfer by any means, and yet I got to see amazing surfers, and they were waiting for these really, really big waves, and they've built up the capacity there through their practice of going from itty bitty waves to big waves, and they're surfing. They're looking for these wonderful challenges and not being intimidated by them, and sometimes they go straight into the wave and they're just and then they bounce right back up. They have practice with this, and it was just an amazing sight to see them
hmm
like going out there and trying this stuff out.
Yeah, and you're right. The metaphor and the analogy is just rich, right? There's so much about, and to continue on this notion. So with surfing, and as you said, the surfer, they're waiting for these challenges because they know that there's a gift and an opportunity in that challenge.
Mm-hmm. For
That's a
sure.
whole
Yeah.
other mindset too for us as leaders, right? Is to welcome challenges is exhausting, but we learn from those challenges, and there's gifts and opportunities in those challenges, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You're right on.
So Taryn, let's put the surfing aside for a little bit. Because if I remember correctly, you're also kind of in a landlocked. You're not surfing a lot these days, right?
I don't surf, no. I am more land based, or I like to sail. I like to be in a boat on the water.
And sailing's it's a good also,
Another one.
right?
Mhm.
That's another, yeah. All right. So we'll put that aside. Well, it's important for me that folks have brass tacks, not just kind of theoretical surfing metaphors and
Mhm.
analogies, but really brass tacks. And brass tacks meaning that there's something that people can do immediately when they engage in this thinking and when we start doing this thinking. Um, so I know you've been doing some work on imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on with that and maybe some insights that you can share with folks because I know my listeners we all suffer from it to one degree or another.
Yeah, it's really becoming present to me as I work with more women leaders, where 75% of them, according to a KPMG 2022 study, 75% of women executives are being caught up in this imposter syndrome, not thinking they are good enough, rooted in self doubt, feeling like they're a fraud. They're being they're holding themselves back from their full potential because they don't think they're good enough. And what are we missing out with these leaders when they're sitting in this a turmoil of self doubt?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
What's being hidden
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
if they're trying
mm-hmm.
to compare themselves to everyone else?
Right. I can't. Yeah. The what's lost is the richness of authentic experience. I think in part, right, and wisdom. So, Taryn, have you gotten to the place where there are practical strategies and things that you would recommend to folks? Is there, and I'm speaking, as a cisgendered man, that there's, I've got that going on.
Mm-hmm.
I remember reading, and this was research from a few years ago. It was pre-pandemic, but I imagine it's the same, if not worse. That 90% of senior folks, execs, C-suite exec folks, have some degree or another of imposter syndrome. 90%. Yeah. So what can people do? Any ideas?
Oh, well, with our work, right, Danny, on positive intelligence, getting to the heart of what are these doubts? Where are they coming from? And it's our fear, our doubt, our amygdala getting hijacked because we're afraid of not showing up well enough. And if we can start getting to the root of like, well, is this our inner judge telling us we're not good enough? Well, then let's take a few moments and go, okay, well, what's true? Let's get curious about
Mm,
what might be true. How can we enter a new conversation with somebody if we're doubting, oh, they probably don't think I'm doing good enough? Well, I love Brene Brown's entree into this work is like, just have a conversation with curiosity
mm,
and
mm,
share with the leader and say, hey, the story I'm making up is you don't like how I'm showing up here and here and here, or I said the wrong thing in this email. Chances are that other person on the other side is saying, that is so not what I was thinking. But we create a story in our head.
We create the story and then we don't test the assumptions, right? And so we
Oh,
just play
brilliant.
the movie, right? And we don't check with the characters in the movie if our reality is the same as theirs. I think you're right on. Yeah. And I'm thinking of the Anise Nin quote that says, we don't see things as they are, we see them as we are, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we're just constantly going through and looking through this filter. Um, so I hear you loud and clear. So I'm in conversation, or I'm going into something where I feel the imposter syndrome. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. So you're advocating for what can you do to test the waters? Am I getting that right? To ask stakeholders. Tell me a little bit more about how that shows up, how that works.
Anytime we're creating a story about what we think is going on, testing the assumption, like you just said, with them directly.
I love that.
And just with a really simple phrase of, you know what, Joe, the story I'm making up is that you don't think I'm doing a good enough job, period. Let them respond.
Love that. Yeah, I love that. I mean, yeah, I'm thinking
Yeah.
that
And
might be. Go ahead.
And it could be very, very scary for people to put that out there. So a tip for how to put you into action for having that kind of conversation is do some breath work. Do some just really focusing on one of my favorites from the positive intelligence framework is, touching your fingertips together for just like 15 seconds and paying
Wait, what?
what?
Just touching your fingertips together? How does that work?
How does that work? Okay, should we share with
Yeah,
them
can we do
how
a
to do it?
mini? Yeah, let's do a
Yeah, let's
mini.
do a mini. Okay, so bring your pointer finger and your thumb together and just bring your attention as you rub your fingertips together and pay exquisite attention to the texture of the ridges of your fingertips. And if your mind wanders, bring it back to the sensation of your fingertips rubbing together. And keep
Mm-hmm.
your attention here for 10 seconds, 15 seconds, as long as you can. And just notice your breath might be slowing down.
And that's good?
And that's as simple as it can be. And the best part about this is you can do this if you're on a call, under your desk, if you're meeting with somebody in person, in real life. They don't have to know you're doing this.
I love it.
Yeah, super
I'm
simple.
always amazed. It just happened. It just happened when you took me through it. Every time I do this,
Mm-hmm.
something changed. As soon as so I'm doing the thing, I'm rubbing but when I stop, I almost feel like this electrical thing go through my body. I can't explain it, but it's just this, it's almost like the chillax effects or something. It's really weird. It's in some ways, right? Because it's not necessarily happening while I'm doing it, but when I stop, it's like, oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah,
nice. That's
yeah.
great. Yeah. And I can see that if I'm going into a meeting, I'm going into a training, I'm going into work with a client, I'm going to work with my team, I'm nervous. I feel that imposter syndrome come up to take a minute to do, what do we call these things? Fingertip? What do we call them?
Wow, we like to call them a PQ, short for positive intelligence quotient. So
Okay.
PQ rep. So imagine you're going to the gym and you're doing a rep for your brain to move you into calm and ease and clarity.
I love this. I love
Yeah.
this. This positive intelligence thing really seems kind of cool, huh?
Yeah. I mean, you and I could go on and on about the life transformation we have personally experienced because we are doing our own work with this.
Exactly.
And we could share lots of stories of what our clients are experiencing by understanding who our inner critics are, knowing they can intercept them, and take a next step action from a place of calm, ease, clarity. All of these are available to them when they're slowing down.
Mm-hmm. That's a biggie. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
biggie.
slowing
That's
down.
awesome. Awesome. Hey, so we're coming up on time here, but I'm wondering, is there anything else that you could share with us about the power of mental fitness, positive intelligence, PQ? I'm also thinking about if there are any stories that you want to share about any client work that you've
Mm.
done using this framework.
Yeah, one of my favorite stories is with a nonprofit client that I've been working with, and they have permission for me to share this. They are called Airway Sciences for Kids. So they're bringing STEM programs to under-resourced kids in the greater Portland, Oregon area, and they're moving into Washington soon. And they brought me in as a leadership and mindset coach to help their staff. So they were a team of like about 7 when I started with them. They now have over 20 employees. They have grown 400%, I believe, is the number of how many students they've been able to serve. And they've
Wow.
increased their revenue 1,000%.
Hmm.
So they had this tiny small budget before, and now they've really expanded their impact because they are believing
Hmm.
that they
Mhm.
can do this great work in the world. They can grow and they're not getting hijacked because the team has a common shared language, like, oh, am I getting hijacked here? Okay, here's how I can approach it differently. And they're going after grants that they didn't think they would be eligible for. So like imposter syndrome, like, oh well, we can't get that. We don't deserve that. I mean, nonprofits are big time. They are always in service of others and they're not taking care of themselves.
Right.
And so what this allowed them to do is actually take care of themselves first, and now they can support more
That's
students,
great.
which is
Yeah,
amazing.
that's great. Yeah, that's the 1-2 punch of this work, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's really about it is about self-care, right? And kind of putting the oxygen mask on ourselves, all that. But it's also building up the competence and the confidence in being able to be a true leader and to do the work that you need to do, whether it's getting new grants, leading your people, but that the time is now to really look at for all of it. I'm inviting you, dear listener, to really look at what is the mindset that you bring to the work that you do. What are the pieces that you can do something about? I really want to encourage you to take a look at positive intelligence, whether it's working with me, with Taryn, or even just picking up the book, Positive Intelligence by Shirzad Chamine. And
Mm-hmm.
it's such a great framework for really adjusting how the perspective that we have on our work in our world. And it's not pie in the sky, rose colored glasses kind of, it's practical, tangible, mind changing, life changing work that we can do. So, Taryn, thank you so much. Thanks for the 101, the FYI. Before I let you go, I'm wondering, are there any resources and or strategies,
Mm.
tactics that you would recommend to listeners so that they have something more to chew on after they hang up with the podcast?
Well, in addition to the book you already talked about, Shirzad Shamine's Positive Intelligence, that would be top priority. One of my key mentors, coaches that I've worked with, his name is Rick Tamlin, and he wrote a book on playing your bigger game. So once you are intercepting these saboteur voices, what's your next step? How do you play a bigger game in your leadership, in your life, in your business? What's the bold action you need to take?
Nice.
Where do you need to get out of comfort zones? And all of that is underneath it is, okay, are we getting hijacked or are we stepping forward? Are we stepping into our sage? So I love how those two models really complement each other.
Nice. So those two books. Okay, so the Positive Intelligence, and the second book was called Play a Bigger Game. Play the
Play
Bigger
Your
Game.
Bigger Game by Rick Tamlin. Yep.
There it is. Great. Play the Bigger Game. Great, and we'll put that in the show notes. Great. Um, awesome. Anything else that you want to share with us before I let you go?
If you're curious to learn more about what I'm up to, follow
Yes.
me on LinkedIn. You can find me at Taryn Laakso, and I share posts every once in a while. We share workshops that are complimentary. So come join us if you want to learn more about this work.
That's awesome. And just, yeah, so folks, when you're searching for Taryn's, it's Laakso is Laakso. I just want to make sure that that's clear. And I can speak as both a colleague, a friend, but also as, in some ways, I've been a client of Taryn's for a while now. She's helped me through some stuff too with mindset stuff. So I really want to encourage you that, she's not only a great guest, but she's a great coach and really somebody that I would highly recommend that you get in touch with her. All right, Taryn, thank you so much. Thanks for the mini PQ sessions. Thanks for sharing your wisdom, your insight. I look forward to further conversations with you. And dear listener, thank you for joining us on another episode of the Best Boss Bootcamp podcast. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care. Talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.